Frances Ha is a film that I adore, and it contains one of my all-time favorite camera movements. Whenever I think of the best camera movements in cinema, this moment comes to my mind quickly. Here is the moment. That was it. It's a very small moment on the surface, quite a subtle movement. One could even say it's missable. So why do I hold this camera movement in such high regard? For anyone who hasn't seen Frances Ha, or maybe just didn't like Frances Ha, or maybe just missed this camera move entirely, or didn't think anything of it, I'll explain why it is so impactful to me. There are a lot of people who don't like Frances Ha, and I'm not going to try to change anyone's opinion on the film, but just explore why this one movement in context with the rest of the film is so great in, I believe, an objectively respectable way. The first thing that we need to understand in order to appreciate this camera movement from the end of Frances Ha is the idea of motivated camera movement versus unmotivated camera movement. Motivated camera movement is when the camera moves in response to something occurring visually on screen. A character moves, so the camera moves as well to keep them in frame, that sort of thing. A great example of motivated camera movement is this moment from Raiders of the Lost Ark. The camera is motivated by the movement of the shot glasses. The scene could easily be done in a series of cuts, shot for Marion, shot for her opponent, insert shots of the glasses being picked up and put down, but instead the motivated camera movement connects these would-be shots together into one cohesive camera movement that doesn't draw attention to itself as much as it does tell the story of the scene in an extremely efficient manner. Unmotivated camera movement is exactly what you would expect. Movement from the camera that is not motivated by characters or objects within a scene. A great example of this is the end of Easy Rider. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. Our two main characters die for basically no reason, and then the film ends with this shot. This camera movement is incredible. A lot of 70s movies had a tendency to end very abruptly. Kill off the characters fast, then credits. Dirty Larry, Crazy Mary is my favorite example of an abrupt, quintessential 70s ending. The characters are in a big car chase. They win the car chase. They escape. They start to celebrate. Yeah, we did it! Then bam! Train comes out of nowhere and smashes into the car, credits. The end of Easy Rider is abrupt, but man is it effective. It comes so suddenly and leaves you with such a bleak, stark perspective on America. The brilliance of this camera movement cannot be understated. The camera and therefore the audience are lifted up and away, effectively abandoning the newly murdered characters and bringing across a tremendous feeling of insignificance to their lives. This unmotivated camera movement says so much. It says that their deaths do not matter. It says that these characters who we've just spent the entire runtime of this film with are in the end insignificant, their lives leaving little to no impact. We watch as the American landscape that they've just died upon figuratively swallows them up. It's brilliant. Now back to Frances Ha in this camera movement. This is an unmotivated camera movement. It's far less flashy than the Easy Rider shot we talked about, but it also conveys a tremendous amount of emotional weight. Frances Ha is a film full of movement. Frances' dancing, her choreography, and her unforgettable run/dance through the streets of New York set to David Bowie's Modern Love, which to me, as odd as it might sound, is one of my favorite sequences in all of cinema. It's a perfect pairing of the audio and the visual, and a pure expression of joy and life. But I'm getting super sidetracked. Back to this camera move. For all of the movement in Frances Ha, this is the only unmotivated camera movement. Every other camera movement in the film is motivated by Frances. That puts an incredible amount of weight onto the one time the camera moves without motivation. This spontaneous movement, regardless of its subtlety, says so much about the character internally, her maturation and personal growth. If there were other unmotivated camera moves in the film, then this moment wouldn't have nearly the same impact. The cinematic restraint shown in the rest of the film clues you into just how important the one different movement is and makes it truly special. To me, this moment is a great example of the special kind of power that the medium of film has over other mediums. This can't be conveyed through words. This can't be heard through music. This can't be conveyed in a still image. This camera movement, subtle though it may be, carries with it such a rich sense of feeling, and that is one of the many reasons I love Frances Ha.